Gladston's turn to bowl. He came pounding in, let a fearsome ball go, short of the leg. Nearly took the bloke's head off, and I thought that was a seriously fast ball.
Gladston Small is bowling to Desmond. Caught him! He's out! Haynes goes.
100% team man, got well over 1,000 wickets. That indicates to you what sort of a man and how important he has been to Warwickshire cricket.
Tremendous guy, true professional. If there's one person I always call on, is Gladston.
It's a fine piece of cricket there.
Sometimes standing behind the wicket, taking the ball off Gladston, the batsmen come in and their feet are shaking and their hands are shaking, Obviously, he's a world-class bowler.
Wake side stamping. 50 wickets for Gladston Small.
His finest moment, probably, as far as I can remember, certainly for England, and perhaps for himself, I don't know, is when he came into the Melbourne Test match on my tour in '86 and took 5 wickets.
Small to continue, Gladston Small.
Oh, and he's got him. It's a strange one, and I think Gladston Small has got an awful big shock there.
Great moment in my career. I was ready, I was looking forward to it, I was having a good tour.
Oh, and he's got him out caught. There it is again. Both of them, that man had second slip, takes the catch, and that brings up 5 wickets, 2 for Gladston Small. So what a performance by Small.
He's been a great servant to Warwickshire and to English cricket. He's a wonderful player. Beautiful to watch, poetry in motion.
Well, I was about to say that there comes a point in every cricketer's life, however popular and iconic they are, when they have to be reintroduced because their playing days are that far behind them. But that wonderful package has done the job for me, Gladston Small. Fantastic. For the benefit of our younger listeners and viewers, you played 17 Test matches, 53 one-day internationals, and as we heard Graham Gooch there reminding us, your most, I think, for those who can remember, you're most popularly remembered for your contribution to retaining the Ashes in '86-'87 when you played at the MCG, came in and took 5 for 48, and then people thought, well, he won't do that again. You did it again the next week at the SCG. So fantastic to see you again. You are now, of course, you've probably done more cricket tours for Black Opal Travel than you played. Maybe not, but you've been on the road for a long time, and it's just so great to see you again. You still loving life on the road?
Manners, great to see you as always. And Harmy, thanks a lot for the invite up here, guys. You got me away from my group, enjoying their lovely hospitality over the other side of the ground. But I'm sure they'll save some for me. But now, listen, great memories, fond memories, and it's one of the joys of this great game. I've always loved touring. Way back, being away from home. Anything to get away from England in the winter was always bloody good, thankfully. So this now what I do with Black Opal, and I've done it. I actually started doing the tours back in 1998. Was my first tour hosting for a company called ITC, and a great man, a guy called Drew Foster, who was one of the great icons he was a big mate of Freddie Laker. You remember Freddie Laker? And he was a guy who was one of the pioneers of sports travel, and this thing now is obviously not just in cricket, in all the sports. People and English fans. I mean, they're great fans, English fans, and these people, my clients and supporters. These people want to watch. I mean, if we don't organise the transport to get these guys here to get to ball one, they get quite irate, these guys. So you gotta be quite organised, which is not my number one thing, in being organised. But luckily we employ good people to do that sort of stuff for us. But listen, the cricket is obviously great to hear some voices, and some the likes of Gooch and Gattin, and obviously Keith Piper, my keeper, brilliant keeper from Warwickshire in the 90s and stuff. So yeah, listen, it's a great game and I still enjoy it, and obviously watching England play, that's a great joy.
Gladdy, we'll come on to your cricket career in a bit, but you mentioned your first tour in 1998. But what's it like following this England team right now under Ben Stokes?
It's hellishly exciting. I mean, I'm pleased that I still love watching cricket. All boys who don't like actually watching the game. But I actually I've seen a lot England play quite a lot of dross over some years.
And I think quite a bit of it.
Thankfully, normally in grounds where we can have a bit of alcoholic refreshments to sort of take the pain away. But listen, it's great. It's obviously, and we all know how the likes of Ben Stokes and obviously Brendan McCullum, and what they've brought to the table is obviously just allowing these guys to go out and express themselves as the players that they are. And it's refreshing. It's not always going to pay off. The cricket is not that it's simple a game where things always go your way, and there are always going to be moments that you got to suffer. Like I think we had, like take this match for instance. Yesterday, Zach Crawley playing beautifully, striking the ball, putting the bowlers on the pressure, and then he have one of those moments that he will always do, because they're always obviously encouraged to take the positive approach. And when you do that against skillful opposition, it's not always going to pay off. But it's a great ride to be on, and it's as it's proven with obviously Stokes' record at the moment. He's 20 tests. And there's only one of them been drawn, so it's a great joy to watch, and it means obviously I can get off and play around the golf a little bit more often as well, on days 4 or 5.
You keep bringing, you would say, older punters, I would say, rather than the younger generation. How have they seen this? Because they've gone through that dross that we've all seen, and I played in, and then you've seen the change in the way cricket is evolving, but the older generation still talk about county championship this and first class cricket that, and the 100's not very good, but they still come out and watch this. What's their mentality shift and over the course of the years that you've seen?
Mature.
Mature
generation.
Yes.
No,
yeah.
Don't worry, you'll get there one day, Harmy.
But not with my lifestyle.
But listen, and it's a fair point. Listen, these people, and they're all not just my clan, but this band of English fans. The first and foremost, they're cricket fans, and they're also very, very knowledgeable. Well, most of them are anyway, and they've all got an opinion as well of what the game should be, and history and tradition and all that. Obviously, all the stuff that these people go back. They go back even longer than you and I, Harmy. And it's sometimes you gotta tell them, you gotta refresh their minds of watching. Would you want to watch, say, remember the days of watching boycott bat? I remember my very first test match I ever saw was in 1974, England West Indies in Barbados. I was a young boy, 12-year-old boy running that from school, and boycott batted for a day and a half, and he was on 80 top score on 85 for England, that sort of stuff. So would you want to watch that sort of cricket, or would you like to see what this England team is? I know which one I want to watch for sure. But listen, it's first, as I said, first and foremost, these people, they really care about English cricket. They obviously there are a lot of we have lots of conversations and chat as you sit with these guys all day, and they all have their counties, from all the various counties, and so it's they're very concerned at the moment, obviously, with the way of our domestic game, how that's faring at home, and what's going to happen, what the future holds for that. They don't get to see as much cricket as they used to at the various counties, so that's always a topic. But by and large, they'll always hopefully, for my sake and for the business, they'll always come off and come out and watch England, and this England team is terrifically exciting to watch.
You mentioned terrifically exciting to watch. You went on one of your exciting tours was 86-7. We heard about Gucci saying that, and what do you remember of that tour? Because I remember there was an article wrote at the start that there was 3 things wrong with England: can't bat, they can't bowl, and can't field. Came home with the Ashes.
It was actually quite an accurate assessment. I think
you were actually a late call-up for that tour, weren't you?
No, the call-up was I think it was between myself, Foster, Essex, Neil Foster played, I can't remember who it was that I got the pick ahead of. But what served me great, I know obviously likes of Mickey Stewart, who was the coach of that trip. The previous season, I'd played a season for South Australia in the Sheffield Shield, and that for me was that was the first time I'd played 4-day first-class cricket, and that was a great learning curve for me as a bowler, and to really and that did well on an flat Adelaide track. So that got me the pick. I tell you who it was Tony Pygott. It was between myself and Tony Pygott, who always ribs me when we played the County Cricketers Golf Society days back home. He's always having a go. He's the man who took my Ashes tour spot sort of stuff. But obviously, very good team. The experience in the team, obviously Gat, but they had obviously Botham and Garrer and Lamb. The bowlers were Graham Dilley, a fine one sadly no longer with us. Very fine England fast bowler. And then a young De Freitas, young De Freitas, he got the nod ahead of me. But the beauty of that tour back then, and we were in Australia for 14 weeks, and as well as obviously the 5 Test matches, we played. We played in obviously all of the Shield teams. And they were like mini Test matches because they all want to beat the Poms, So hence you had to put in a good show, and so I was having a good in between the tour, the Test matches. I think I was myself and John Embry were the 2 leading wicket takers for the tour when you count in all of the other in between matches. So unlike touring now, I think the England team after this Test match they're heading off to Abu Dhabi for that famous cricketing place in Abu Dhabi. Whereas back then we obviously would have stayed, and you would have stayed and played a inter-test game to get yourself going again, or to impress the selectors, because that's what when you're not in the team, and that's what those games give you. They gave you a chance to say to the selectors that, hey guys, I'm ready when you want me, and that was always the aim as a bowler, even bowling in England. When you're playing against the proverbial man and his dog on a wet afternoon in Derby, which is probably not the most invigorating place to play cricket, but there you go. You still have to have a reason to want to perform, and that was what I want to get in the Test team. And so that's what I was obviously doing, and obviously worked. And that morning, that boxing day in the MCG in '86. I mean, and back then, touring was proper touring. Botham's contract with Lindemans Wines provided that we were well refreshed in his presidential suite we had at the hotels we stayed in. And the Christmas party was the Christmas day in Melbourne in '86, where we all had to. We were all dressed in fancy dress. We started at about 9 o'clock in the morning, where the press threw us a champagne breakfast. None of this going practice sort of stuff. None of that. We had a champagne breakfast with the press from 9 o'clock whatever time. So a couple of hours of that on the champagne. Then we went changed into our fancy dress costume. My letter was Z. So I went to Zorro. What else?
That's you on the golf course now as well.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Swishing all over the place. And then obviously so we had a great day, and then turned up at the MCG on Boxing Day, and one of the things that team Gat told the 11 players who were playing, and he always covered that by saying, the rest of you guys don't go off, be ready to play. And I was getting phone calls because I'd played in Melbourne, a couple of seasons of club cricket in Melbourne. So I was getting phone calls from my Aussie mates that I played club cricket for at Baldwin. And they were saying, come on, Smalley, come on, you might as well come on and have a drink with us because you won't be playing for the Poms tomorrow, that sort of stuff. So I said, no, guys, I've got to keep myself ready and all that sort of. And obviously, and then I was Melbourne, down in the bowels. You can't, the bowels of the MCG where you can't see the ground. And I was actually doing my normal duties of the first morning, mixing the guys, Gatorade drinks. Botham's was a large lager shandy in his Gatorade bottle. But so and Gat came down to to get his jumper to go do the toss. Meanwhile, unbeknown to me, Graham Dilley had pulled a hammy warming up on the outfield, and Gat said, "Oh, Stoney, by the way, stop mixing the drinks you're playing." So that was like half an hour before the test that I knew that I was actually in the team, and we won the toss on a sultry grey day in Melbourne and stuck the Aussies in. And both of them, Beefy was only about 60% fit. He'd injured his intercostal fishing in Tasmania the week before, something like that. And so he said, "But listen, I'm playing this test match. There's nothing's going to stop me from playing against the Aussies. We're 1-0 up with 2 to play. I'm playing. Get the doctor in. Stick whatever he wants in me." And so we went out in favourable conditions. We managed to. I got my 5 and my good wickets, Harmy. The caught slip, caught keeper. But I think Beefy got 2 of them at second slip. Beefy, his 5 were caught third man, long leg for cover. And he walked off. As he walked off, he came. He said, "Oh, Stoney, well bowled." I said, "Mate, but my 5 were proper 5 wicket." He said, "Mate, they're 5 Aussies and I'm keeping the buggers." Sort of, and not quite that sort of language. You can imagine what he would have said. So listen, they absolutely. And obviously we went on to win that test 2-0 up with 1 to play and partied for the next 3 weeks, I would have thought.
Then you come out here and played in the World Cup final, 1987. Managed Australia beat you in the final, but a different environment, different atmosphere, and different skills to.
Absolutely. I mean, and in India, listen, it was a great India. The passion and Remember, we played against India early in the tournament, and then we played against them in the semi-final at the Wankhede Stadium, which is actually probably back then it's probably not dissimilar to this stadium here we are in Vizag. Very close to the very compact. The fans felt as though they were on you, and I think there's about 60,000 people in there, and it's the noisiest ground I have ever played in. It was absolutely roaring, and it didn't stop from ball 1 all the way through. And that was, we managed to beat it. It was good to beat India in a semi-final on their home and in their homeland, and then obviously went on to Calcutta for the final against the Aussies, and I think there was 110,000 people in Calcutta that day, because there were obviously massive stand, and it was all obviously majority was unlike now where you have bucket seats around in the stands, comfortable. It was all mainly just concrete slabs that the fans in this baking sun would sit on. And that was, 110,000 noisy, and I must admit that I didn't, myself and Phil de Freitas opened the bowling, and we didn't have an opening start. We bowled a bit too short on a slow deck to Booney and Marsh, and they got cut and pull, which I'd never liked being. I knew if I bowled badly was when I got cut and pull. I didn't mind being driven as a bowler, because I thought I was always in the game, but if I got cut and pull, I wasn't very happy with that. So I didn't bowl too well. But still, we only had they got 230, which back then, 50 was a good score, but one that was gettable. And we, even to this day, whenever I see Mike Gattin, I often remarked of that the shot he played, the reverse, which at the time it was only Gattin and Botham were the only two guys that played the reverse sweep. I think at one stage Peter May, who was the chairman selector, actually banned him from playing the reverse sweep shot, and now we obviously see particularly the England team, and the sweep shot is as commonplace as the guy driving the ball through the covers, and the way these guys practice it, it's almost as safe a shot as a cover drive. So that's the way how much the game has changed. But yes, listen, fond memories of coming to India, and obviously, and I never played a test match here, but I watched a lot of cricket, even when at home. And it's great now. Look at the stand. Look at today, the crowd. It's almost apparently it's a sellout. Which I've seen a lot of times in India, where when they're batting, always when India are batting, the crowds get a bit of crowd. I mean, back in the day with Tendulkar and these sort of the crowd. But as soon as they got out, they went. But it's great now to see, and Virat Kohli's I think he should take a lot of the respect for that, because he's the one who's. I think he's having watched how he plays the game, and how he really extols the virtues of Test match cricket, and I think he's really driven that passion, and that's filtered through to the people in this country who love cricket. So it's great to see.
And man, as you came across a young Gladstone in your early broadcasting career at Warwickshire,
yes, absolutely.
I did, yeah, and I just there's two memories. I love. You know what I love, Glad, is when you watch golf on television, or even if you're watching it live, and you only ever see the highlights. You only ever see these great players hitting 2-iron over water and landing it softly in the green.
How did they do that?
It's just, isn't it great when you just see one of them play an air shot or leave one in the bunker, and it just gives hope to all the young up and coming golfers. But there's one of my favourite stories. Harmy loves to have a laugh at himself. Especially first ball of an Ashes series.
I was there.
He bowls the second slip. But there's a story that comes to mind. So you're a very young man. You're 20 years or 21 years old, playing in your
1982.
At Coventry against defending county champions Middlesex. And Dennis Amos has said to you at the beginning of the day, just give us 2 or 3 quick overs, would you? And you bowled 10 no balls in your first over, and your captain has said to you, could you just come off 2 paces and finish the over? He did that, followed instructions, bowled a wide.
Didn't pitch on the cut. Actually didn't. I missed the pitch. It pitched on the adjoining pitch on next door.
Happens to the best of us, Glad.
But yours was a bit quicker than mine.
Anyway, 12 years later, the great all-conquering Warwickshire side of 1994, and you're still going strong. You had a long and illustrious and very, very successful and memorable career, but there were some bumps in the road early on, weren't there?
Well, listen, youngster back in 1982. I was back then. My run-up was probably way too long, and also the umpire. The umpire of that game was a guy called Bill Alley, Australian. So obviously but he had Bill, lovely man, Bill. Really, back then had some real character. Umpires, they got involved more in the game than and really some of them were really helpful. But Bill had a way of, if you were an aspiring, promising youngster, he would sort of keep you in check and so that day he was calling no ball and smiling at me. He was calling no ball, Smalley. So so even to this day, I'm not. Actually, I was the postscript to that story was I was walking off the field. Every cricket club has got one. The stat man, and we had one there called Roger, and he came to me. He said, "Hey, Gladdy. Did you know if you'd bowled another 2 no balls, it would have been a world record?" I almost dragged him by his shirt collar and said, "Why didn't you shout me? I would have easily bowled another 2 just to get my name in the record books."
It was a 17 ball over, wasn't it, in the end?
Actually, it was 18
ball over.
11 no balls in 1 wide. Yeah, lovely.
We've got to mention the Bob Willis Foundation, because you were heading off to Oman, it's an unusual destination, to do some work for the Bob Willis Foundation.
Well, I'm actually going on a spying mission because England's got Oman in the cricket group in the T20 World Cup in the Caribbean in June. And now I'm taking a little breather in mid-tour, just a bit like the England cricket boys. Actually, I'm going back to the Middle East, because a good pal of mine is a client of my travel stuff, and he's a big cricket fan from Sunderland. Well, you're part of the Royal Army.
Well, that's fighting talk. You can't do that, Sunderland.
Yes, I know. Thought I'd get that one in on you, particularly after your game last night. But I saw him. He was at home for the Ashes, and I was walking around the Oval with this little blonde-haired Aussie proper quickie from yesterday's Jeff Thompson. And there's this guy, Gladdy, when are you going to come to Oman? And Tom Ozier's picked up straight away. Oman, geez, I'd love to go there. I'd love to go some fishing. He's into sport fishing. I was out in his boat in Brisbane, Queensland. He loves going off doing fishing for all that sort of stuff. Not my style of thing. I mean, 4 or 5 hours on a boat is my idea of not a lot of fun. 4 hours on a golf course, absolutely, but on a boat, not too good. But so he said, we got to do that. So this guy said, oh yeah, come on. So I'm going to meet up with Jeff Thompson, and we're going to do the Bob Willis Foundation, which is my first captain in 1980 is Bob at Edgbaston. Great man, super guy, and he obviously sadly passed away from prostate cancer a couple of years ago, and it's something that's close to me. Obviously, I lost my dad a few years ago with it, and also 25% it affects black guys. We're much more likely to catch be inflicted with prostate cancer, 4 times more so than white guys. So it's something to obviously just to do, and gets me just a little bit of a vacation and a refresh to come back for the last 2 test matches. Where hopefully we're still in the hunt for this in this series, hopefully, which I'm sure we will be.
Well, we all hope that, and we hope that England putting up a fight. Gladston Small, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to joining you for a glass of Sauvignon Blanc, because we know that if anyone can organise it, it'll be you. Black Opal travel for the finer things in life. If you want linen sheets and a glass of chilled wine, rather than the smaller, cheaper hotels that other tour groups make, this is the man.
I'll find you just a spot for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Cheers, Gladdy.
Cheers.